Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to go through section 6.3 of the textbook and show you how you can use the test module that the authors of this book developed on your own computer using IDLE, if you would like. So 6.3 is about unit testing, which is a very useful practice for software engineers. The idea here is that as you're developing your programs in small bits, incrementally, you are likely writing functions that do just a small task for you. For example, maybe as part of your overall program, you need to be able to square numbers. And maybe you're going to do it multiple times. And so you write a square function, like it's done here. But in order to make sure that your program is correct in the end, you really want to make sure that this square function is correct. A bug in the square function is going to yield a bug in your overall program, and it might be hard to track down if you don't catch it right away as you're writing your square function. There are some very powerful testing tools and modules for Python out there. But for the purpose of learning, the authors of this textbook wrote a very simple testing module that they call test that allows you to test your programs or test your functions. So you can see that they import it using import test and then call the test equal function from within the test module. And let's go ahead and I press save and run here, and we can see that because we said to print the string testing square function, we see that. And we also see that the test passed because our function is in fact returning the value of 100, which is what we have asserted that it is, when we pass in 10. So let's try changing this to something else like 99 and see what happens. So we expect this to fail, but what's it going to tell us when it fails? And it has some very useful output here. It says test failed. It expected 99. That's because we told it to expect 99, but it got 100. So this test module, actually, let's go ahead and scroll down. As the book notes, this test module is not a standard Python module. And what that means is that if I just go to IDLE, let's go ahead and do that. So standard Python modules are things like random and math and many others, but if I do something like import math, this is a standard Python library, and this just works. I didn't need to install anything or download any special files. This just works, and I can use that math library now. So test, one thing you'll notice actually if you try to import test right from here. So the book is claiming this is not a standard library, so we would expect maybe something like an error like library not found, but it actually works. We don't get any error. Whereas if we were to import something like, this is definitely not a standard Python library. So hopefully now we'll get an error. Let's see. Yeah. So this module, Python doesn't know where to find this module. Everywhere that it's looking, it can't find it, so we get an error. But why is this test module working? Well, the reason that it's working is that there is a test module that's in this Python standard library, but it's not the test module that the book wrote. It's actually an internal library that's for internal use by Python, but we can see that they're not the same because what should this testing module do? Well, it should have a test equal function. And so if we go back to IDLE and we say something like test.test equal, and let's just say is 10 equal to 10. and we see that this test module does not have a test equal function in it. And that's because it's this internal Python library. So now, how do we, if we want to use this test module, how do we do it? So in this note, we can follow this link and we can actually take a look at the source code and just save it to our computer. So this page will walk you through all you need to do to be able to use the test equal function on your own computer is just save this as a Python file in the directory that your Python programs will be run. So if I go to new file and I paste this in, now if I save this in my 127 folder and I call it test.py, that's really important, and I'll talk about that a little more later. So if I save this as test.py, now I save it and I close it, and now we can use that test module. Let's first look at it in a file. So I'm going to make a new Python file, and I'm going to just go ahead and copy the code that we've been working with from the book. So I'm just copying this and pasting it right in to this file here. I'll save it, and I'm going to call it working with test.py, and I'm going to save it in my CSCI 127 folder. Go ahead and save that. So now if I run this, I'm going to expect that it works. And one thing to note is that we might be thinking to ourselves, well, there's already a test module. How does Python know that I want the test module that I just saved? And the answer to that is it doesn't know what I want. Computers don't know what we want, but as long as we understand how they work and we give them instructions that precisely tell them what we want to happen, we can make things work how we want them to work. And the rule for Python when importing modules is that first Python will look in the current directory. So the directory that the file that we're running is in, Python will look and see if there is a test module to be imported in that directory. And we know there is, we just saved it. And so that will be what is imported. If there was no test module in that directory, then Python will then look in the other places that it looks, that I won't get into right now, but the Python path and some other places. But let's go ahead and run this and see if it works. Yeah, and so just like we expected, we were able to get that our test passed. Let's just try editing this, and let's write something that won't pass, and we'll save it, and we'll run it, and this test failed. So one thing I'm noticing here is that there's this tab indentation in the output here, and I'm curious where that's coming from. So I'm just going to go ahead and take a look at the test module that we saved. So I'm going to open that again, just investigate. So that was test.py, and investigate what's going on there. And I see that, yeah, there's a tab here. This backspace T is saying that there should be a tab. So if I didn't want that tab, I could actually edit this code. So I'm going to delete all those tabs because I kind of didn't like them, to tell you the truth. So what I've done, taken all those tabs out, I'm going to save this, and now I'm going to rerun my Python program here, and we have no tab. So that was just a bonus little demo of editing a Python program. I think that was everything that I wanted to do in this video. So thanks for watching, and enjoy your unit testing.